Hi, this is a Surviving to Thriving, Exceeding Expectations presentation done at Erlangga University in Indonesia in October 2024. This is a symposium, edutainment for promoting mental health and well-being that I was invited to, and thank you for inviting me. It's been a great opportunity. In this second health symposium, when I first talked to Muthi about this conference, she told me there were some objectives. These objectives were to increase knowledge about maintaining mental health and to solve mental health problems. That got me thinking. Now, my focus is generally on achieving better than existing outcomes. So I was thinking, what does this mean? And how does this fit with what I do? Are we focused on acceptable or are we focused on desirable outcomes? And what do we want? I mean, a lot of times these terms are used interchangeably between acceptable and desirable. And when you look at the terms, they really mean different things. Acceptable means suitable, satisfactory, tolerable, or allowed. While desirable is focused on what we want, something wished for, something attractive. So it's almost as if we're looking at just doing okay or achieving what would be best. So when we think about these objectives, were they acceptable or desirable? What is desirable? Is desirable just maintaining mental health? Or would we want to achieve better mental health? Is acceptable and desirable solving mental health problems, or would it be helping people thrive and do better than they could do otherwise? When I'm talking about desired, which is more than acceptable, doing better than just doing okay. Now, we've been stuck with acceptable, which I don't think is what we want. But our current focus has kept us at acceptable because we were looking towards prevention, not having bad things happen. Because if we think about the outcome, if prevention works, what really happens is not good health, but nothing. No bad outcome. Not a good outcome, which is really what we desire. That's the desirable outcome. When we think about health is a means, it's not an end. Because health enables us to pursue our desires, to become what it is we want to be. Currently, our health focus is, even though health is about creating possibilities, the big focus in our current effort has been to eliminate something bad, because pathogenesis has been our focus to eliminate the negative outcomes and prevent bad outcomes. But really what we want Yahoo! Is this, high-level wellness. And now, high-level wellness is something positive, something we have to approach, something that gives us the potential and opportunity to have the life we want, something we have to proactively move towards before it happens, to promote what I would say is wellness, which is positive health, while illness is negative health. That comes about through awareness, education, and growth, and something I learned. Because wellness wasn't just about fixing when something bad happens, but it was about learning how to get the goals, skills, and abilities to achieve our potential, to do what we can do. So it was about creating more good, not just eliminating something bad, which it also did. So it changed the end point from not bad to more good. Now, how can we do this? Well, luckily, Antonovsky introduced the complement to pathogenesis, the origins of disease, to salutogenesis, the origins of health. As I said, the origins of health came from Aaron Antonovsky, who was a medical sociologist. He studied humans and Holocaust survivors while he was in Israel and wondered, why did they survive? How could they even have survived? Why are some of them thriving? They've been through one of the worst experiences known possible to man, but they're still able to thrive. What we know says that shouldn't be possible. And this led to the birth of Salutogenesis, and he said, now we need to shift our focus towards time to thrive. Now, when we look at these existing frameworks, there's pathogenesis, but the origins of disease, which is really responsibilities. It's our responsibility not to do things that cause disease. But salutogenesis, the origins or causes of health, is about opportunities to make our life what it could be. Now, the assumptions of pathogenesis and salutogenesis are quite different. When we think about it, pathogenesis, starting point, is the problem or disease. You see, what's wrong? What do we have to fix? While salutogenesis, what could be? Where could we go? It's the potential of what we could achieve. While pathogenesis is about avoiding problems, salutogenesis is about approaching a potential. while pathogenesis reacts to disease or the possibility of disease, salutogenesis thinks, how do we generate better health? How can we be proactive and do something now to make a better life tomorrow? Now, the unique thing about these two differences is the assumption that pathogenesis, even though it's about disease, assumes humans are inherently healthy. We're good unless something bad happens. While salutogenesis, even though it's about health, says we're inherently flawed. And if we want good things to happen, we have to make those good things happen. So pathogenesis, even though it's about disease, is idealistic, saying we're naturally healthy, while salutogenesis, which is about health, is realistic, saying, you know what? We need to go get health. Sometimes bad things are going to happen. This is really just the second law of thermodynamics, where it says that a system left to itself moves towards chaos. If we want things to work out, we need to cause them to work out. And that's what salutogenesis is saying. If we want to cause health, we need to make health happen. It's not going to just happen by accident. So pathogenesis is against pain or loss and keeping that away, while salutogenesis is about how to create or generate gain and growth. Pathogenesis just prepares us to live, while salutogenesis teaches us how to live more fully. Pathogenesis is about not falling back, while salutogenesis is about how to move forward. Pathogenesis keeps us from getting worse, while salutogenesis is about continuous and never-ending improvement. Well, pathogenesis has an endpoint, which is neutral, not bad. Salutogenesis really has no endpoint. It just has a progress point, so we can measure gain and plot our progress towards continuing improvement. So pathogenesis is about minimizing problems, while salutogenesis is about optimizing the potential. I liken to this something that has been attributed to Mother Teresa when they asked her if she'd be in March Against the War. She said, no, I wouldn't be in a March Against the War, but I will be for peace. She says, what you're against is disempowering, what you're for is empowering. So let's be for health, not just against disease. So we think about intentions with salutogenesis. We have to think about good things. The starting point is what we want to have happen. What do we desire? Happiness, enthusiasm, creativity, joy, excitement, laughter, hope, and well-being. Those are desirable outcomes that we want to create. Then we have to think, how do we make those part of the fabric of our life? How do we make those natural default outcomes? And what do we have to do to create an environment that makes those kind of things happen? So what does that mean? That means we have to think about benefits beyond problems avoided. Now, Deming, the famous quality management guru, said stamping out fires is a lot of fun, but it's only putting things back to the way they were, not actually better. Back to our status quo, which I'll call zero, our reference point, because we compare everything to that reference point. What is it today, and how does the new outcome compare to what we have right now? How does it compare to our status quo? Then if we have a problem, I'll call that -3, we think, we need to solve that problem. It might be diabetes, it might be inactivity, heart disease, as we're doing it at this conference, at the symposium, mental health concerns. And if we fix it, we relax, we say, we're good now, because those problems end. We're just back to our reference point, which creates a ceiling of how we are. 0 becomes our ceiling, the best we're going to achieve. They call those best practices, but are those best practices? Is it progress? Are we better? Well, kind of. I mean, certainly, if we've solved a problem, we're not worse than we were. But ending is just less bad, not more good. Now, if humans were bad, getting to 0 would be awesome. That means we're better than we were or could have been before. But it also means we have to accept things as they are. We want to create better. I want to create better. We've been working from this deficit theory, assuming that a non-negative is a good, which is better than having a negative, but that's what prevention is really about. Reduce, reuse, and recycle keeps things as they are. It doesn't make things better. Now, I liken to this from Dewey's book, The Power of Habits. He told the story of no smell Febreze. Now, when they first invented Febreze, they thought this was incredible. It actually changed the molecular structure of smells and eliminated smells. So the outcome was nothing, no bad smell. It didn't really sell at first. But now if we use Febreze, what you get is a good smell. Not only does it eliminate the bad smell, it creates a better smell afterwards. So it creates a positive outcome, and it sells. So it's about that improvement that they wanted. So it's a +3 outcome. It's the positive gains they've desired. It's thriving, it's flourishing, it's achieving. It's doing more than we would have before. It's how we can exceed expectations. It's more good. Upcycle is when we use something for the second time, it's better than it was the first time, not just recycle. It's creating a better world. Are you liking this to what Steve Jobs did at Apple? He didn't fix the problems with Apple. He went back and said, let's make insanely great products. And now, as most of us know, Apple's become a part of most people's life. It's about growth. Problem solving just is not enough. Now, how do we get there? How do we exceed expectations? We have to start here. Start with the desired outcome. Start with that +3. What is it you want to achieve? You can't start just trying to get back to our status quo. We have to start by getting to where we want to be and what we want to achieve. Now we're dealing with a new generation now. This new generation, considered called iGen by Gene Twenge, or Gen Z as Jonathan Haidt talks about, is there are differences in these new generation. Now this is mostly American adolescents, but they said those born after 1995 are dramatically different. They even call it the great rewiring of their brains. What they've done is they've grown up more slowly because they spent a lot of their time growing up on their phone rather than person-to-person interactions and learning what it's like to be with other people. It's kind of like the Amazon effect. I mean, in America, we don't even go to the stores and interact with our retailers. We just click. And you even think about how you find significant others. You just go online, swipe right and swipe left. We can do things. And all these non-person-to-person interaction has resulted in a generation that is more insecure, seeking more safety and less community, which they even say 22-year-olds are like 18-year-olds, 15-year-olds are like, or 18-year-olds are like 15-year-olds as far as experiences they've had. So they have more experiences to get to be at the same level previous generations were. So it's a different group now. And this relates to Nassim Taleb's phenomenal concept of anti-fragility. The idea of anti-fragility is that we become stronger from stress. Actually, if we avoid stress, which many people try to do, we become weaker and we're worse off because of that. So it's not that we want to avoid stress. We want to handle stress because we become a better version of ourselves from going through those experiences. Now, adolescents, the ones that we focus on in this conference, are anti-fragile. They will become better through those difficult experiences. They will become better versions of themselves. They will become better due to those multiple interactions that they have that are difficult at the time, but become stronger over time. So when we switch these goals, while pathogenesis is about responsibilities and salutogenesis is about opportunities, it means we go from the traditional goal of returning back to where we were towards improved reality, from less bad to more good, from the absence of problems to the presence of enhanced well-being, not just where we were before. So some of the advantages of these salutogenic goals are that the continual improvement enables us to focus on thriving and doing better than we could have done before. It means more motivation because these goals are meaningful. They're about positive things to achieve. And every study I've done, multiple studies that have been published, show that we have more satisfaction, more fulfillment when we do the things that lead to a better life and are somewhat more interactions on a regular basis. And while we're doing those things, what happens is we get increased ability, we have more confidence, we have more competence, and we have purpose in our life as we find those ways to do. Now, what are problems? I mean, they obviously they exist. Now, salutogenesis acknowledges problems, but the focus is on the growth and well-being. So when we think about a strategy, the strategy is you have to continually reframe the situation towards improvement. How am I better because of this situation? What does this make me into? How am I becoming? What skills am I gaining? How also can I use those things? So how are we going to do that? Well, there's been a few strategies that have been used. Aaron Antonovsky's strategy with salutogenesis and generating health was his sense of coherence, with comprehensibility, manageability, and meaningfulness, which he called sense of coherence. The work I've done has focused and been built from the salutogenic wellness promotion scale. For Antonovsky, he assumed that if we can increase comprehensibility, our understanding of the world, so it makes sense, our manageability, increasing our skills and ability to handle things in life, and finding more meaning in life, so we find value in life, we are better off. And every study that was done showed that not only that if we can improve comprehensibility, manageability, and meaningfulness, we have better health, we have better outcomes. And we need to align those goals with the sense of coherence. Now, That means that the goals weren't the outcome, but increased comprehensibility was the outcome. Increased manageability was the outcome. Increased meaningfulness. Those were the dependent variables. What our interventions were designed to help us more comprehensible, to make life more manageable, to make life more meaningful. So by increasing the sense of coherence, we increased well-being and health and made our lives better. With the Salutogenic Wellness Promotion Scale, what I measured was actions that improve well-being. So in physical, how are we getting better nutrition and more activity? Socially, how are we integrating people in life? Emotionally, how are we learning to manage our emotions more effectively? Spiritually, how are we connecting to each other? Intellectually, how are we becoming more intellectually competent? Vocationally, how are we developing and having fulfilling jobs? And emotionally, how are we promoting a healthy, better environment? So when we think about this, build the environment that makes it such that we are not doing the things that make our environment bad or lead to bad nutrition choices or make it difficult to be active, that isolate us socially, that make us more unstable mentally, that disconnect us from each other, that make us difficult to build our intellectual skill and have fulfilling jobs. We want an environment that makes actions likely for good nutrition, integrated social networks, managing emotions, connected spirituality, becoming better intellectually, fulfilling jobs, and a better, more beautiful environment. And we have to measure progress. It's not about necessarily end outcomes happening, but how do we show that we're continually improving the process so the product, well-being, will take care of itself? And the Salutogenic Wellness Promotion Scale helps that by finding out, is our job more satisfying? Are we building a stronger network socially? Are we interacting more often? Are we showing affection more often? Are we getting more movement? Are we finding out more about whole foods? Are we eating more plant-based diets? Are we learning to manage our stress better, seeing opportunities in situations? Are we improving our verbal and writing skills? Are we learning to support and protect our environment so we can have a better environment? Are we connecting spiritually with other people and the purpose in life and how we're all connected? Now you wonder, okay, good ideas, does it help? How do we know? Well, I know for college students, it helps. The more they engage in those actions that are measured, those things in the Salutogenic Wellness Promotion Scale, the better they do in life. I define thriving as better health status and improved well-being and a higher GPA. So they performed better and they had better health and they had more connections. And you know what else? They had less problems. This was true for a group in Jordan. This was true for college students in America. It was true for older adults, younger adults. This helped everybody engaging in more things that lead to better health in all areas of life. We know that it improves. If we want to do better, we got to stop talking and start doing, as Walt Disney said. But what are we going to do? We want to generate those desirable outcomes. What we need to do is we need to build that health promoting culture. We have to think about purpose and meaning. Not only are we doing things for transactional reasons, but what is it? How does our parts make the whole better? Connect the person and plan an action. How is what we're doing improve ourselves, improve our neighbors, improve our well-being so that our future is also going to be better? And the way to do that is we have to think of an overall aim. We have to think about what does it mean for everybody? We have to think, how are we going to improve? And by what method? Now, at first I used to think the method was to be selfish. And Charlie Brown said, wouldn't it be wonderful if there were no hatred? Wouldn't it be wonderful if there were no hatred in the whole world? Well, why does this interest you, Charlie Brown? Nobody would hate me. Well, wait a minute now. That sounds pretty selfish. That's not quite what I'm after. And Zoe was thinking, how's school so far? Oh, it's great. The new girl in our class. And all the mean girls are picking on her. Zoe, how is that great? Because nobody's picking on me. Lecture coming on. You see, they realize selfish may not be it. Because it's lacking consideration for others. And that's not quite what I was talking about. I was mistaken. So how are we going to create that better world? We have to enable people to achieve their potential. Let people become the best version of themselves. How are we going to do that? Maybe we're just selfless. But when I looked up the definition of selfless, it was concerned more with the needs and wishes of others than one's own, or being unselfish. Wait a minute. That's not right. I want the world to be a better place. I want the world to be better. And then I heard this then.
My first question for you is why help other people? What's in it for you?
I want to leave my daughter and the grandchildren I hope to have and all these young people a better world. And I think the reason you should do things for other people at bottom is selfless. There's no real difference between selfish and selfless if you understand how the world works. We're all tied together.
There's no difference between selfish and selfless?
No. Not if you understand how the world works. We live in an interdependent world. Suppose you're in America and you're worried about growth in the American economy. So we're 4% of the world's population. We've got about 20% of its income. We've got to sell something to somebody else. The more you reduce poverty overseas, the more you increase education, improve healthcare, empower women and girls, the more you will have growth overseas, the more there will be global growth, the better off Americans will be. If every time you cut off somebody else's opportunities, you shrink your own horizons.
Wow. So that means selfish and selfless are the same thing. So it's kind of irrelevant. Now maybe it's synergy. But synergy says that it's the outcome that produces a greater effect than the sum of separate parts. But there are no separate parts. Everything's connected. So, man, that's not quite synergy either. So, and whenever I do something, we create interactions. So all our acts are really interactions. And Einstein told us 100 times every day, I remind myself that my inner and outer life are based on the labors of others. And only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Emerson understood, he said, it's one of the most beautiful compensations of life that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. So they get selfish benefits. The quality of our life depends on the labor of others. The better others do, the greater our potential is for a better life. I know that I want you guys to do great so that I get to have a better life. So I think we need an action. The action we need is describe something that's selfish, selfless, and synergy. So what could that be? Could we be selfridgy? Well, I'm not so sure because that's kind of the Charlie Brown thing. We're thinking about how to for yourself. I want organizations to think, how can they create a product that builds them a profit, but also makes the world a better place, and it's something we want and need and improves our life. So maybe we should have this. Or jury. Yeah, I mean, that gives me a warm feeling, but you know what? I think there might be some problems with that word. And so I talked to a linguist, Steve Cerruti, and he said, what you're talking about is paneugenesis. Paneugenesis is literally creating all good. Pan is all, you is good, and genesis is creating. So we're creating all good. So actions by individuals, groups, or organizations that create the best outcomes for all parties with the byproduct of regenerative, net positive, pervasive, reciprocal, positive benefits. Whew! That's a bit of a mouthful. And then if you look at the comics, there's Blondie wants to see if she has to delay making dinner and move something downstairs, but no. Dagger goes there and moves it forward, and then they're all better off. And that, of course, ripples out because if the kids are home, they know the parents get along, and everybody's better off. So it's truly, we can generate comprehensive benefits by creating interactions so everyone and everything benefits, both in the short and the long term. It's really about creating better relationships, not just with each other, but with our environment, with our workplaces, with all of those things in life, all our animals and everything in life. How do we build better relationships so that it's good? It's those interactions that make a difference, which is really just application of Deming's systems appreciation. So this is how to practice paneugenesis. If you want to talk about how to do that, I used to have this green grass theory that I thought explained that paneugenesis. Then I realized, you know what? Not quite right. We had to move this to healthy plants theory. Let me explain to you what happened. Because if we want to be better than before, we need it to be healthy plants. So the green grass theory used to say that we need the right inputs, rain, sun, and care. That's going to promote more blades of grass to grow, not just kill the weeds. How do we help more things develop and become grass? And we can get this lush green lawn. And I realized, wait a minute. That's not quite right. We're just back to where we were. So if we do paneugenesis, it's got to be better than before, not just where it was. We have to exceed expectations. How can we do that? The healthy plants theory would be the way to do that. So what we have to do is build regenerative yards. This is the way we have plants for places for animals to live. It regenerates the soil. It makes a better world for everybody. It's also beautiful. It's a wonderful way to make our yards better for everybody. That also makes the world a better place, not just for me, but for everyone else. So if we're thinking of how to practice pangenesis for adolescents and sobriety, we have to refrain towards generating really good outcomes, not just fixing what's wrong. What's the idealized outcome? Not just less anxiety. How do we think about enhancing goals? They have to co-create a future that's going to build engagement and motivation. Build the environment for chronic wellness. Chronic wellness means we have to plant the seeds for chronic wellness so we get that regenerative life for everyone and everything. To do that, we're going to have to give them knowledge, attitude, and perceptions of what could be, help them build the skills, give them the resources available to make those kind of outcomes happen. How do we work with them to give them the skills, abilities, and resources? Make a policy and an environment that supports, nurtures, and makes those choices the default choices. And then how do we reinforce those desired behaviors so that we have truly an environment for chronic wellness? This environment needs to support, nurture, encourage, and reinforce well-being for everyone and everything, and we're all better off. So we put it all together. This is truly what Indonesia was about. This is university and diversity. Many, yet one. Benika Tunoga, I can't say it correctly. But these are interactions between this diverse 17,000 island nation show the diversity challenge, develop their anti-fragility. They generate this new thriving reality. So the call to action is we practice pangenesis. We want everything to benefit. Get to that +3. So the goal is we're going to have better people, healthier environment, and all of us will be better off. Thank you. Enjoyed the opportunity to work with you. I look forward to our future interactions.